dinner, so I'm going to keep this short. I'm sure everyone's pretty tired after a long day. What I'm going to do is I'm going to briefly talk about the history of Salesforce, the story of Salesforce. I'll talk about sort of the big leaps in innovation that we did, in my opinion. And then I want to leave a lot of time at the end for you to ask questions. And feel free to stop me at any time if you feel.
Can you speak up, please, or use the other mic?
Yeah. Should I use this one?
Doshi. Wireless on off?
Yeah, let me use this.
Use this one, please. Use this one.
Yeah? This is better? This is better? Okay. So, just quickly, I'm the CTO of all the applications at Salesforce. Salesforce is a CRM company, a customer relationship management company, based in San Francisco. I've been with the company 11 years, so I think I know a little bit about the history. But my goal here is to give you a sense of how Salesforce thinks of disruption, of innovation, of competition. So, let me know if there's any area you want me to go in any more detail. So Salesforce was founded about 14 years ago in 1999 by Mark Benioff. Mark Benioff was a VP at Oracle Corporation for about 13 years. And he had seen at Oracle how Oracle became extremely successful when the computing world changed from mainframes, which was basically owned by IBM, to client-server computing. And he saw that as this big shift happened in computing, that there was a whole new set of winners and a whole new set of losers. And in 1999, when the internet was taking off for e-commerce, he started Salesforce on a very simple premise. He said, why can't enterprise software be as easy to use and usable on the internet just like Amazon or eBay at the time? And it's a perfectly good question. It's the right question to ask, because with every big shift in trends and paradigms, you get a whole new set of winners and a whole new set of losers. So in about 1999, he started this company, and he modeled it on Amazon.com. I mean, if you look at the original product that Salesforce released in 2000, it was exactly like Amazon.com. There are tabs, functions like that. You just basically open up a browser, you go to a certain URL, and then you start using your CRM system, which is great. But the analogy and the similarity ends there. Enterprise software is very different from a consumer e-commerce company, and enterprises tend to have much more complex business processes, much more complex transaction needs, and they have very, very strict requirements from their systems. They need their systems to function, like ATMs do. These are transactions about money. If you've subtracted something here and added something there, it needs to be that way. Otherwise, people lose millions of dollars. And Salesforce's architecture had to, in that sense, be based on a database, a commercial database. Databases are what run companies today, and that's what it was based on. But how do you take a database and how do you put that on the internet? How do you make it so that you can run a database for hundreds of thousands of companies, millions of users, and it still works the right way? And there's essentially two ways to go about this problem. One way is to virtualize the hardware. So when you look at companies like VMware, what they do is they create virtual machines at the hardware level. And for each customer, you create a separate database, a whole separate set of infrastructure. And that's called single tenancy. On the other end of the spectrum are companies like Amazon and eBay, where they have a single set of infrastructure for every user that hits their system. What that lets you do is it really lets you build a web scale application. Now Salesforce is somewhere in the middle because Salesforce has companies, not individual users, and companies don't want their data crossing over to some other company's data. So it's a little bit different than Amazon, it's a little bit different than single tenancy. And Salesforce pioneered this concept called multi-tenancy. And multi-tenancy is you put hundreds, maybe thousands of customers in the same set of infrastructure, but you virtualize the application. And what that is in Salesforce's case is we built a whole layer of software that virtualizes the database. So we take a single big database, and in our own software, we wrote this software over many years. For each of our customers, it looks like they're the only person in the database. And this not only is this incredibly hard to do, because we're taking every piece of information a customer gives us, we're translating it into what the database needs. Anytime they need to run a report, we translate that into what the database needs. We're building a whole layer. Just like Java is a language, we had to build our own language on top of the database. And this is a hard problem, but in the end, I think that solving the hard problem was what made disruption possible. So Salesforce started off in '99 as providing this capability to all our customers. And in the beginning, it was just a CRM system. Salespeople put their opportunities, their contacts, their accounts information. And we became pretty successful at that. We became a pretty good software company, a pretty big company just based on that. And as we started growing, we started hitting up against the bigger and bigger customers. And the bigger the customer, the more customized their requirements are. Every business process is more and more complex. Every operation that they do is very, very tuned to their business needs. They've been tuning their business needs over decades, maybe hundreds of years. And what we found is we were building more and more customization capability into our product, to the extent that there were customers that were not even using Salesforce for CRM. They were using our customization capability and building HR apps. They were building finance apps. They were building, other customer service apps. And the company took this leap and said, the biggest enterprise software companies are platform companies, like the Microsofts, the Oracles, the SAPs. And we shifted the company to start thinking like a platform company. Because a platform company, you think a little bit less about your direct customers and you start thinking about your developers and your partners. And so I would say about 2005, 2006, we made a big shift as a company to start thinking of ourselves as a platform company, which is a big shift. We invested a lot of money, we split up our development team to think about applications and platform, and we started going after that market. And that went great, and we started moving higher up into the enterprise. And then about 2009, so our CEO never sits still, and he already had in his mind how he had disrupted the enterprise software company to some extent. So he always is on the lookout for new startups, new trends, new ways of doing things, and so he keeps an eye on that. So 2009, what was changing was Facebook was becoming really popular, 2009, 2010, and he asked a very simple question. He said, people are consuming their information in a whole new way. They're not going out and running reports, they're not going out and looking for information. They're consuming their information in a feed. You just say, I'm subscribed to this interesting information, or that interesting information, and it just comes to you as it happens. It's much more real time, and it's a much more natural way of interacting with it. And he said, why can't enterprise software be that way? Why do I have to log in and then start looking for information? Why can't it just come to me? And about 2009, he said, I want to make a big bet. And he took a third of the company and he said, I want you guys to build the Facebook for the enterprise. And we built this product called Chatter.com. So Chatter is a Salesforce product that is exactly like Facebook, but it's built for consuming information and collaborating with your employees. And so we invested, we spent about 2 or 3 years building Chatter and modernizing our UI. And of course, in this time, none of our competitors are thinking the same way. So if you look at the Oracles or the SAPs, they're still stuck in the same software that they built 20, 30 years ago. And so now we've got a platform, we've got social built into our product. What's next? And about a year ago, he started making a lot of noise about mobile. He started saying, I never carry my laptop anymore. I don't sit in front of a desk anymore. My children are never going to see a keyboard in their life. I just have a phone. Why doesn't my software work on a phone? And last year, he basically took the whole company and turned it around on its head and said, I want you to think about what our architecture should be so that we can be 100% mobile company. Now these are hard shifts to make. I'm talking about these in 5 minutes, but these are hard shifts to make. Your product is architected to work on a browser, on a desktop. You can't just change it overnight. But it took a year of convincing the company, realigning the company, re-architecting, hiring the right people, and transforming how we do everything, rearranging the code. And we just released in December of this year our entirely new platform called Salesforce One, which is basically our entire product available on a phone. Enterprise software, enterprise applications are not available on phones. That's just not how it happened, but we're right here. And we find that each of these different steps that we take, that our competitors are playing catch up, they're trying to find themselves in the new world. And as a company, your brand gets elevated as the company that's always innovating. As it turned out, most of us use Facebook also on our phones. It turns out that the feed is a much better way to consume information when you have this much real estate. So it actually helped us that we have made that transition from our old model to the social model and now mobile model. So we're actually keeping step with the consumer model. But that gives you a sense of the kind of staying hungry, staying paranoid that Salesforce has been doing. And Salesforce is now, it's 14 years old, but it's now the 5th largest software company in the world, enterprise software company in the world. It's been named by Forbes 3 times in a row the most innovative company in the world. Salesforce is the #1 CRM vendor in the world, #1 CRM software company in the world. It was just named today the 7th best place to work at. So I guess I'll conclude by saying, innovation, at least innovation at Salesforce, is not about just taking ideas, throwing them on the wall and seeing what sticks. I think Salesforce's innovation has been about a very focused evolution, and at any point that they've come up against a hard problem, you solve it the right way. It's a whole, it's a whole sort of commitment to a certain focus. So I just wanted to end with that. Innovation at Salesforce is not about just pure creativity. It's about focus and creativity working together. Thanks. Are there any questions I can answer? Yeah.
Thank you so much for your comment. We are just a couple block away in Salesforce I started a company as a service, and I want to try to build a product. And what I'm also about to start to use Salesforce, but it's kind of expensive, like this startup we are using small ones. But I heard a lot of the clients of mine, we're also working like B2B. Just want to ask, Benioff is a great guy, and he knows all things, and he did awesome job. But how do the people in the company reacted? He's like the person just I want to do this, and you should do that. So
everyone, yeah. So it actually it's we joke about it. Yeah, can I repeat the question? What were people's reactions when Mark Benioff basically says this is the mandate? He just puts his fist down. How do they react to it? It always goes in a wave. We always think he's crazy, and everyone thinks he's crazy. And then you push, you make it happen, and he finally convinces everyone that this was the right thing to do. There's very few other people in the company who have that credibility to make such a mandate. So it has to come down to the CEO. And I think being the founder CEO, being the person who has gotten so many decisions right, it kind of helps for him to take big risks. So you have to have the personality, you have to have the history and the credibility. Thanks. Great question. Yeah.
So in my company, about 6-7 years ago, we, when we were growing, we thought that we need a CRM, but at the same time, we realized that we need a ERP. We need an accounting system. We need a lot of things. So, instead of going piece by piece, at the time, by research, I decided to go with like NetSuite, at that time. So, do you see that kind of a challenge in that sense to deal with this kind of a market?
Yeah, great question. So the question was, company doesn't just need CRM, they need ERP, they need content, they need a whole suite of things. How does Salesforce's strategy compare with the strategy of maybe NetSuite? That's a good question. The thinking at the time was, we actually came up with a pretty innovative pricing and business model as well. For the first time, enterprise software was charged by the user per month. And we said we're going to charge, $30 per user per month. You can cancel a user, you can add users, reduce users anytime. And the CRM market lends itself very well to that, right? It's the number of salespeople you have, it's the number of service people you have. So it was a very clear focus. And also on the ERP side, our thinking was it's a much harder problem to solve. It would defocus us if we went after that. So the initial strategy was, let's stay focused. This is a huge market. The CRM market is a huge market. Let's be focused. Let's go after that. Let's stay on the front office. Let's not compete with the Oracles and the SAPs of the world there. But as we've evolved, like I said, we've built a platform. And very quickly the thinking was, we will let our partners build an ERP solution on top of Salesforce. We'll let our partners build a financial solution on Salesforce. And so that's what we've done. We actually go out and invest in a lot of these startups that build on top of the Salesforce platform. And we encourage them to expand essentially our portfolio. And we have this thing called the App Exchange, if you go to Salesforce, where they can get to advertise their products. And we help them out with marketing and sales. So that was the thinking at the time. Thanks, great question. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we're going to have to take the questions offline.
Okay.
We have dinner programs there.
Oh, perfect. Dinner, even better. Okay, thanks.